You are significant. You have seeds of greatness inside of you. You are not on accident. You are on purpose. You are here for a very divine, special purpose. And we are going to talk in this podcast about evidence that you are significant. I want to welcome Laura Ard today to You Are Significant. Laura, thank you so much for making time to come on and share today. And we want to get right into Laura's story and let her share and begin there.
Oh, darling, this is such an honor for you to have me on today. It's kind of flipping a role for me. I'm used to being a host. So I'm like, oh, okay, how do I do this? I'm used to telling people how to do this. And I'm asking you the questions now. Help. But I just kind of take us back down a little bit of my history and my road and the path that I've been led on. And I had such the privilege of being a preacher's daughter. And I consider it a privilege because I was raised amongst some of the most amazing parents, churches, people. Now, yeah, there came bad, but there was more good. And so I thrive on the good in that. But yes, a preacher's daughter. As a young child, I thought, what was my dream? What did I want to become? And it was a doctor. And I wanted to fix things, that was where I was heading in life. But guess what? I didn't like school. So how was I going to become something that significant if I didn't like school? And I didn't. I was not one to want to show it. I went to school, but I was not engaged. And the only thing that kept me rolling through school was getting involved in chorus. I love to sing. That was part of being in church. That was part of my gift, is singing in choir and singing solos and being part of a singing group or something. And so that connected me in school and that kept me going till my 12th year. And I told my father, I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I know I'm right at 12th grade, but can I take my GED and get out of this? I felt trapped in school. I didn't like it. I didn't like what I was around or seeing, because back then drugs were in school, just like they are today. And so he said, okay. He had faith in me to do that and get my GED. Of course, I had already connected with a boy and thinking life already, marriage, all the things, get me out of school so I can live life. Being the only child for so long, I grew up quickly. I was around adults more, and we adopted my brother when I was 9. And still, I was like the mother figure, always around adults. And so by 12th grade, I've considered myself, I'm grown. I can handle this. I can get married. I can do the things. And in that pattern of life, though, things had happened to me that I have not shared and not yet will, but it's some things that I realized last year, how it had set my path. Mm-hmm. And how it had me make decisions not always healthy. Mm-hmm. And so when here I am at 16, thinking I knew I was ready to get married, and to a guy that had already started abusing me in ways that were not of God and, what he wanted for my life, but I kept excusing it. I can fix it. I will make it better. And so my parents said, okay to the marriage. I'm married at 17. And I knew the day I was getting married, I shouldn't have been getting married. But I thought, he'll change. It'll get better. We'll be okay. And I'm a Christian. I can change this guy. I can get him to love God just as much as I do, although he said he did. It was not a healthy marriage. And to bring you up to 15 years of marriage that I stayed in because I didn't first want to be the first divorce in our family. I didn't want to make my father feel bad or look bad because of being a pastor. Your daughter, you can't even control your family. There's divorce, But I had to make a choice. And I did it on a Sunday. I came home. We lived the life in church. Everybody loved us. We are always the house to go to, for family gatherings. I lived that fake life because I thought I had to. I had to make my marriage work. And yes, I want people to make their marriages work. I want you to go every avenue to make it work. But God does not condone abuse. He doesn't condone mental abuse, abusing your children. He does not condone that. And I had to get out. And so I made that decision abruptly. I'm out of this. I'm getting out of this marriage. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is what I have to do. And so I did. I left the marriage of 15 years. My daughter went with me. My son stayed with the dad, because he felt like he had to. The kids, that's so hard on them. They feel like they got to take care of the parent now. So one goes with one goes the other. Somehow they were going to make it work. When Tony turned 18, he came home. He left his father and came home. And I stayed divorced and on my own for 2 years because, Darlene, I didn't feel significant. I didn't feel worthy. I felt like a piece of paper crumbled up, just tossed around in the wind. I felt like, how could anybody love me because of what I have chosen in my life? But God worked through me in those 2 years, and he showed me, you are worthy and you are significant. Now get out there and do what I've called you to do. Be the person, be the love, be Christian, show your faith, and don't be ashamed that you made a choice to live a healthier life for you and your children. So after 2 years, I started thinking maybe I should look at the dating realm, get myself out there. And I went to all those dating apps. Oh my gosh, I don't suggest that. It's hard. It was hard. I did the dating apps, meeting these guys, and I had this plan, Mom, if I call you at this certain time or you call me at this certain time so I can get out of it. And I quit. I said, nope, those aren't for me. You're meeting people that are just not in a safe environment. I didn't like it. So I put an ad on the paper out of our big, huge paper here. I put an ad, exactly what I was looking for in a man, who I was, must love dogs, all the things. And I set that up online. And within a couple of days, I had some really cool responses. And I met one on a Friday night. We had a great dinner. We knew, no, this isn't for us. But the man that I'm married to now answered. And we met on that Sunday. And I knew as soon as I saw him, that was the one. God has given me this gift of this beautiful human. And we got together on that Sunday. Within 3 months, we were married. And now we're getting ready to celebrate 27 years. And I'm like, now I know what God intended a marriage to be. Has it been super easy? No. I mean, every marriage has their trials and tribulations. And yet we have the gift to work through that. We have God in the center of that. So now we have, worked through so many different trials. My husband is gifted in teaching chainsaw safety, and he has to travel. Well, when we first got married, I'm like, oh, I'm good. You can do this. You travel. I'm home being the homemaker, taking care of my daughter because she lived with us. And then it got hard, and I missed him, and I wanted to be with him. And so I came up with the idea, let's travel in an RV. Let's go all over the country doing this chainsaw thing like a band, And so I'll homeschool. I didn't want to homeschool. Remember the girl that hates school? How am I going to homeschool this child of mine? But we went for it. And we found the RV that was perfect for us. Daughter did not like. She started all the rebellion that she could. She chose a path that she wanted to choose. As a kid, like I did, chose my path. And she headed down the street of drugs and all the things. And that was very difficult to go through and still go through. But God blessed us in the journey of beginning our path together and traveling and doing this. We look at it as a huge mission field and sharing the knowledge of chainsaw safety. And we begin that every year, book solid, on the road, come home on the weekends, back out on during the week. And it went beautifully until it came to a point where my 2 oldest granddaughters needed to live somewhere. And they became available to us. I was like, bring them home to us. We had just bought this home on 15 acres, huge house that had the bedrooms. And everybody's like, why are you getting this big house? You don't need this big house. Y'all are on the road all the time. And God's knew I needed the space for 2 teenagers to come live in. And they were in their 10 and 13, that age range. And I'm like, Lord, why am I getting teenagers again? You really want me to do this? And 8 years, we had the privilege of raising these 2 beautiful girls, and took me off the road, back him traveling by himself. Very hard, but we both knew God had us where we were supposed to be and taking care of these children. Now they're on their own, doing great, doing things in life, and just such a neat thing. And when they went back away from us and moved out, I was like, okay, I'm back on the road. I got to come back. So we again had to look at another RV because he had bought a smaller one. And we went and found another RV, got it home, got it prepared, and started again out on the road, just beating the path. Lord was blessing us with work. He just opened doors amazingly, for us. And bring us up to during that time, Tim had started recording and doing stuff. And he's like, Laura, maybe you should do a podcast. I was like, me? Again, not feeling so significant in that arena. Why would you want me to do a podcast? So I started praying on that and looking, and I thought, well, that'd be kind of fun. And I did Lolly Lovin' Life because my grandpa had named me Lolly. And I started the podcast telling my story. And then I just felt this silence. I didn't feel like it was something I needed to be doing. And so I stopped. And through that time of peace and quietness, the Lord led me into getting certified as a life coach and a Christian life coach and someone that can help women find their self-worth in all the trials and tribulations that you go through that tears it down, and how to pull back and learn how to handle those trials and tribulations through that, and keeping your self-worth. And so I got my certification. I got excited again about doing this. And I had this thought come to me about the podcast. I was like, oh, Lord, I feel like, and through some coaching and, Brooke Hemingway, we love her. We're connected with her. I need to open this podcast back up, but I want it to be in a direction serving you. And I came with the name, The Journey Within You. I wanted women to come on and share their story, basically like I'm doing today, without shame, without, feeling like they can't tell their story, all of their story. So many will tell parts, but they don't want you to know stuff they've got buried deep down in. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, that's it. I'm going to start again. And God opened up doors, and I had these incredible women that have never told their story come on and tell their story. I said, I got chills. That's what God wanted, is just open this door for these women that filled my cup. And it wasn't about me anymore. It was about what God had led me to do. So I started the podcast. It was rolling good. We were traveling, and I started noticing my husband not feeling so well. And I was like, man, I just know he needs to maybe something get checked, but stubborn men.
I remember the day you texted me and you said, Darlene, something is just not right. Something is not right. And we were texting back and forth 2 or 3 days. And you said, we're going to go home and I'm getting Tim to a doctor.
Yes.
He's going to a doctor.
Yeah. That week we were in Massachusetts, and I had one of the organizers kind of watching him, out in the woods, because he's hands-on with chainsaw out in the woods with all these guys. And she's like, he's not good. He's happened to have the car brought to him. He can't walk very far. It's like, okay, we're going home. I'm putting my foot down. We're going home. And so we started our trip home. It was, a long ways from Massachusetts. You're talking 15, 16 hours more because of traffic. Started that Thursday night home, drove us as far as we could. We got us up to, halfway point. And the next morning we get up, well, just things kept happening. We couldn't get the slide in. We couldn't get things to do. And I'm like, we're both getting really frustrated because we're exhausted. He's not feeling well. I stopped. I just prayed, Lord, please, we've got to get this in. I've got to get him home to the doctor. It's vital. And so Tim was able to get the slide in. We hit the road, the highway, and we come to an abrupt stop. And I'm like, okay, this is why you had us hold back. There was a major, major car accident. And we sat for 2 hours, 2 hours. And so by that time, he was tired just from sitting there. I said, okay, I'll drive as far as we can. I drove till about 6. We stopped for fuel, and he felt good. He had rested. He was ready to drive for a little while, and we were just going to swap off. Traffic's still horrendous. It was a crazy era of traffic. It was an eerie feeling. I couldn't explain it. It was just really strange. And I told him, I said, just be prepared. It's acting weird. People are doing weird things. They're stopping abruptly. Things are just happening. And I was on the phone with a dear friend, and I was just chatting and relaxing in the back because I always sat in the back with the dogs. It was fun back there. And I couldn't, that way I wasn't telling him how to drive either if I was sitting up front. Because, I'd be saying, stop, don't do this. So I was sitting in the back. Next thing I hear, oh my gosh, we're wrecking. And I'm like, what? And by the time I looked up, we were hitting the back of a semi. And I was like, no way this is happening. And he barely touched the bar of that semi, but it destroyed the front end of our RV.
Mm.
So here we are sitting on the side of the road. I call the cops. They come. We get the tow truck people there. We unload the Jeep to put us in the Jeep. Well, we got 5 dogs. We travel with 5 dogs. So we're on the side of the highway with cars, just trucks passing. And I asked the officer, which, by the way, he knew us. He's like, I know this RV. I let you guys in one of the training spots. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a God thing for sure.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So he helped him get the Jeep off. He helped us, we were trying to get the dogs down to the Jeep, and Tim couldn't walk anymore. I said, just get in that Jeep, sit down. I'll get the rest of the stuff. And then we went and met the over at the tow truck people and got all the stuff unloaded. And I had all this food. And I'm like, can you please just take the food? I don't want to throw it away. So I gave it to the tow truck guy, and he was so excited because he said his dad would just be thrilled to have all this neat food. And I was like, great, that's perfect. And then I said, do you mind if we stay overnight in the RV because we got 6 hours to home? And he's like, we can't allow it. I was like, okay, fine. So we put as much personal things as we could in a Jeep Gladiator with 5 dogs. And I looked at Tim and I said, we're going home. And it's 10 o'clock at night, but we're getting home. We pulled in about 5:30 a.m. Let him rest. The doctor was seeing him at 8 on Saturday. Got him to the doctor. And I mean, it was boom, boom, boom. We were at the hospital before I knew it. Heart, figuring out where he's bleeding from, all the things. He got 2 diagnoses so quickly that I was just like, what? This just kind of blew my mind. Colon cancer again? Heart failure? No, what? Okay. So I had to just breathe. How do you handle all that at one time? And not just me, but him. He's weak, but his body's hearing all these things. And I know him. How am I going to provide? How am I going to do this next step? What about my business? All the things running through his head. I'm worried about trying to help him, get him better, fix him. I got to fix him.
So this was the second time he's had cancer?
Yes. He had it 15 years ago, went through all the chemo treatment. But this time he chose different. He said, I'm not going through chemo again. That was too much on his body. The neuropathy set in so quickly, and it would probably do it again. So he just could not. The heart, we're looking still possibly, at open heart surgery is the plan that they're wanting. He was in the hospital 12 days. We started having hard conversations about our future. And we knew living in this large home and all the acreage that there was just no possible way we were going to be able to handle that. And we didn't want to lose it because it's been our place. It's been our home. And so we thought, okay, we're going to have to sell the home. And I thought, okay, well, that's fine. Because, we got 12 acres and a big house. That's going to take a while. It ain't going to sell that quick. And I had a beautiful friend come in that I love dearly. And she's our realtor. And she came in and looked at everything. And she just put a blurb on Facebook, got this property coming available, had not even started marketing it. First couple that came, they wanted it. They wanted it. That was it. Done deal. They're buying this house. And I'm like, what? I got 45 days to figure out how I'm going to pack all this house. And now where are we going? And this dear friend, her husband buys ugly homes and they redo them. And she said, Laura, I've got this place. And we were sitting on my golf cart. I'm bawling my eyes out because this is huge change for all of us in all areas of our life. And she's like, I've got this home. I want you to go look at it. It's a nice little brick home. It's on a corner lot. I think it'll be perfect for you guys. So that evening, we immediately went and looked at the house because we knew we had to keep the ball rolling. And walking this property and praying and asking God the leadership in it and what should we do. And we both felt at peace that this is where we're to go. And so we went back, called Tressa, said, yes, okay, let's get the ball rolling on that, because they had a lot of work to do in 45 days to get this house ready. And then I thought, okay, I got to start eliminating things in this home. We've got to have a huge sale. And so we had an estate sale. Another sweet friend, Stacy, came all the way in, flew in, helped me all week long go through the hard things of saying, no, I don't need that. No, I don't need that.
And Stacey's the person to do that.
Yeah,
She's
she
got
was
a gift for
beautiful.
that.
Oh, I was just like, it gave me a chance to get to know her better, and, just really the support that I personally needed that week was just beautiful, because I was able to let go of things that I thought I needed, that a lot of times, right, darling, we find our significance in things, right? And realizing those things are not my significance. They don't make who I am, And so we had a huge estate sale, got everything sold that we needed to, then donated the rest to a sweet girl up the street that has a continual yard sale. So I blessed her with all the things, and it'll make her money for what she needs. So that was so cool. I loved being able to help her out. And then we came down to the wire of that week. Okay, how do we move? How do we afford things? How do we start doing all this stuff and not having the income that we had coming in? But God has never failed us through that. He has always provided. So I had to keep faith in that. And we had this group called God's Pit Crew came in, swooped everything up, packed us up, moved us. I mean, it was just like, whoa, what is even happening here? I can't believe this, how God is in every single detail of all the things that we had to do. And so we had pods out here. And I mean, it came up to the morning of the closing of this house saying, yes, people can live in it, to us actually getting our dogs out of the house over there, because we had to leave them somewhere, go getting them. But this sweet couple that bought our house, they're like, we have an RV. If your house isn't done, you're welcome to live in our RV. I thought, how cool is that?
So God is just providing, like, I'm going to say angels for you to help you through this, like, sudden change in your life where you've been on this one path and all of a sudden, because of circumstances, you're redirected and, so many changes. And yet, a lot of times we're afraid of changes and there's fear attached with changes. But God says, if you'll be faithful to me, I will grow your faith and I will meet you right where you are with the faith you need in the moment. And I've experienced that. When Dawn deployed to Iraq, I did not think I could even live through that.
Exactly.
And yet it was something that God met me where I was. And he helped me to have the strength in the moment. Not ahead of time, maybe not even after, but in that moment, I had the strength I needed to do what I needed to do.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I mean, so many people are like, how are you smiling? And I'm like, because God is right here with me. I have been scared. I'm not going to lie. I've cried many tears. I've had fear, but I realized in that fear, I was robbing God of the blessings he was wanting to provide for me. So I had to trust him. I had to be faithful in what's coming still. I mean, we're not through it. We're still going through it. And I didn't pray to get out of it. I prayed God to lead me through it. And I think so many times we do that. Lord, take this away. Take that away. No, lead me through it. Show me what I'm to learn from this. And this year has been, Lord, open my talents, because now I've got to learn new ways of making an income, So God has blessed me that. My podcast had to go on, hiatus again, because my husband was the most important thing, taking care of all the needs in that. And now that we've kind of settled in our home, God's opened my podcast back up, and I've been able to start that again. And then
He brought us together through podcast coaching.
Yes, the podcast coaching.
He had already laid it on my heart to have a podcast, and I'd been working to get mine launched, and he laid it on my heart to say, Laura, would you just help me? I want to pay you to help me because you're doing so much, and I really need step by step by step. And we had already done just like a Zoom for anyone who wanted to launch a podcast to come and hear, generalities, even
Mhm.
specifics on equipment. But there's a difference between a general Zoom like that and then like, okay, what
Getting
button do I
nitty-gritty.
push?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Having this, I don't know what to do next. I'm in the middle
Yeah.
of this. How do
Yeah.
I go next from
Yeah.
here?
And that was something I felt like, okay, really? Should I do that? Because I'm not a professional. I
Mhm.
consider again, you just so many times again the significance of who you are. Don't disqualify yourself. There are
That's
women like
right.
Darlene, like somebody else like me that want to do this, but they need that little nudge. They need that tap on the shoulder. They need the holding hand. And I love to encourage women that way. So God's like, yeah, go for it, Laura. You
It's
can
the
do this.
difference between how God and man
Mhm.
certifies.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we have to have a piece of paper from mankind to
Hmm.
say, I'm qualified, I'm
Exactly.
significant enough to
Right.
do this. Whereas God is saying, no, I've certified you. This is my
Hmm.
plan. I'm going to give you the wisdom. I'm going to give you the people to help
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
Just follow me, kind of like
Yeah.
Abraham when he was
Yeah.
told to get up and leave Ur of the Chaldees. He didn't even know where he was going.
No.
He had his wife, he had flocks and herds, he had his children,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he didn't have all of his children yet, but he had a lot going on. And can
Mhm.
you imagine? I know you can, but for the listeners, can you imagine getting up and maybe you've lived in the same town all your life,
Yeah.
and all you've known is the town you grew up in
Mhm.
and the parents you have and the
Mhm.
friends you have and the job you have and the home you have, and yet God will give us the strength. If He asks us to get up and move, like
Mhm.
He's asked
Mhm.
Laura to do here, then He
Mhm.
will give us the strength. He will
Yeah.
show us. He will show us one little micro step at a time,
Yes. Yes.
the
Not the whole
significance in the
picture.
moment. The
Yeah.
significance in the moment. Sometimes the significance isn't the overall big, like, here's the end, here's what you're going walking towards. Sometimes the significance is, I want you to walk towards me, one more
Mhm.
baby step
Mhm.
today.
Oh, it makes me think about, the disciples. They didn't
Mhm.
even question God where they're going. They didn't
Mhm.
question how long they would be gone. They just followed.
They
And
just
that's what he
follow.
wants us to do is just follow him. And I have really committed myself, being a Christian, I've been that all my life. I was saved at
Mhm.
9 years old, but
Mhm.
truly living my
Me
life.
too. I was
And
baptized at 9.
yeah,
Yeah.
living my life how God is intended. And I'm fixing to be 62 in March. And I'm like, things are just now opening up that how God wants me to live. And it's so cool. I mean, as January, I said, okay, Lord, like I said, here's my talents. Maybe I haven't been using them in the way I should. Please show me, teach me,
Yes.
open those doors for me if that's where you want me to go. And it's been so freeing,
I
to
can
live in
remember. It's so freeing,
that.
yes,
Hmm.
and I can remember when I was going through, Dawn being deployed in
Hmm.
Iraq for 15 months, or our marriage struggles when, things were
Hmm.
really hard at times,
Hmm.
as I've shared in, episode 1 and 2, being on my knees beside my bed, and I can
Hmm.
remember one day just needing a hug, just needing a hug.
Hmm.
And I was like, I just really need a hug. And at that moment, my oldest daughter came in the
Oh,
room and she gave me a hug. And I knew that was God hugging
yes.
me through
Yes.
her.
Yep.
And
Yep.
He gave me what I needed in that moment to
Mhm.
continue.
Yep, he's given Tim the talents to use those in a different way now. And so now he's doing virtual and he's got classes and he's got ways of reaching out to the community still with his gifts. And I just love seeing God bless him in that way and giving him the energy to do it. And we know we're not going back out on the road, and that's okay. Yeah, is it changing how we have to do things? Yes. He had to go, finally got to pick up the RV since August. He went this past week. His best friend took him out and he brought it back to the yard here. And I didn't realize how emotional I'd get seeing that thing and walking through that thing. And I'm like, whew, this has been a journey. And I'm
Mhm.
thankful, but he gave us that time in that RV. But now this chapter's closing. And I'm okay with that,
How
I
many
am.
years did you spend traveling in that
Oh, we have
RV?
been well, he's been traveling over 30. We've been married 27 years. 25 of that I've been on the road with him. And minus the 8
Wow.
years that I came off to, to raise the girls. But it's been our normal go, come, do, And now the kids are all like excited because we're home and now we can really partake in things with the grandkids and that's cool. I mean, that's so neat to be able to do that now. We
Mhm.
tried while on the road, but a lot of times we were gone for the birthday or and it
The
was
ball
hard. The kids
game.
didn't always understand, but
Mhm.
now we get to try to at least go to different things with the kids and see them do their thing, and it's such a joy. But I am, I have been open to change. You have to let your faith be stronger than the pain that
Yes.
you're going through.
That's right. That's right. Well, and it reminds me again of the verse in First Peter that says that when we are tried, then it refines our faith like pure gold. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
fire is what refines gold and makes it more pure. And
hmm
so
hmm
it can be really, really hard to endure that fire. And we sometimes just feel like, I think this may do me in. I don't know if I
hmm
can do this, Lord. I don't know
hmm
if I'm strong enough.
hmm
I'm not strong enough. I need you to do it for me.
Exactly.
And I think that's the moment where, God is like, okay, you're getting it. It
Mhm.
isn't you. It isn't about you.
Right.
It's about me. And
Mhm.
it kind of reminds me of Daniel and his three friends when they were cast in the fiery furnace.
Yeah.
And the fire was so hot that
Mhm.
it immediately, the men who threw them in died because it was,
Mhm.
made to be
Yeah.
so hot. And yet God sustained them through that,
Yeah.
sustained them so much so that they came out of that furnace and didn't even smell like smoke.
Isn't that amazing? And if he can do that, what look what he can do through us.
Yes.
And again, we have to keep that they have that strong faith, they had that belief. And
Mhm.
something I share, I have a stack of cards that are scripture, and I'll sit
Mhm.
and shuffle through them before a podcast. And
Mhm.
so I did, and then I lay it down, and whatever's on top is what I want to share. And today it was give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And that's First Thessalonians 5:18. And he always puts the right scripture. I'm just like letting him lead, and I just shuffle them like shuffling cards, and whatever's on top, that's the one we read. And it's like
Mhm.
we have to give thanks. As hard as it was and hard as it still
Yeah.
is, I'm still very thankful. I have a roof over my head. I have a husband sitting in the next room. He could have died, but
Yeah.
he's here with me still. And the
Mhm.
Lord is healing his body. I believe that. I
Mhm.
trust that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a journey, but it's been a journey worth living, as I say,
Mhm.
because if you keep God in it, it's not always going to be easy. I can't tell you that it's going to be all roses. It's not. But finding your worth in Him and knowing that you are significant through Him, it's going
Mhm.
to be beautiful.
Through him and because of him.
Of Him. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And in the comments, I'm going to post how to get in touch with you for
Okay.
your podcast to listen
Yes.
to more,
Yes.
and also for your life coaching that you do, your
Awesome.
Christian life
That'd be great.
coaching. So
Darlene,
check
thank
the
you.
comments for that. Laura, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with us and just showing us how God truly does help us to find our significance. And
Yes.
I was telling Laura before we started, that significance can change because
Mhm.
there are seasons of life, and you really have followed and stuck with each step and been faithful. So thank
Yes.
you again, Laura.
Thank you, Darlene. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you for listening to You Are Significant. Please leave us a review. Please leave comments, give us a like, and share this out. We appreciate you here on You Are Significant, and I cannot wait till next time to spend time with you.